One American commander saw something nobody else did. Japan had one final weapon, a desperate plan that could have changed everything in the Pacific War. But this commander knew their secret. He understood what they were planning. His strategy was ruthless. His timing was perfect. And what happened next crushed Japan's last hope forever. But here's what they never saw coming. What secret weapon did Japan have? The year was 1945. Japan was losing badly. Their cities were burning. Their navy was destroyed. But they had one card left to play, something the Americans didn't fully understand yet, something terrifying. Japan called them Kamikaze, the divine wind. Pilots who would crash their planes directly into American ships. No hesitation, no turning back. At first, the Americans thought this was madness, just desperate men making desperate choices. But the numbers told a different story. These attacks were sinking ships, killing thousands of sailors. And Japan had thousands of pilots ready to die. They were building more planes every single day. The Japanese military had a plan, a final battle. One massive attack that could force America to negotiate peace, to stop the invasion of Japan itself. But there was one problem they didn't see coming. The Japanese called it Operation Ketsugō, the decisive operation, their last stand. The plan was simple but brutal. When American forces invaded Japan's mainland, every available plane would attack, every ship, every soldier, everything Japan had left. 10,000 kamikaze planes were ready. Suicide boats packed with explosives lined the coasts. Even civilians were being trained to fight with bamboo spears. Japan's leaders believed this would work. They studied American culture. They knew Americans valued life, hated casualties. If they could kill enough Americans, create enough horror, maybe America would stop. Maybe they'd accept a negotiated peace instead of total surrender. The plan had one critical weakness, something Japan's generals completely missed, and one American commander saw it clearly. His name was Admiral Chester Nimitz. But what did he know that Japan didn't? How did the commander know their secret? Chester Nimitz wasn't like other commanders. He didn't just fight battles. He studied his enemy. While other admirals wanted bigger guns and faster ships, Nimitz wanted something else: information. He had a secret weapon of his own, something that changed everything. American code breakers had cracked Japanese military codes. They could read Japanese messages almost as fast as Japanese commanders. Nimitz knew about Operation Ketsugō before it even started. He knew where the kamikaze bases were, how many planes they had, what their targets would be. But knowing wasn't enough. He needed to stop it. And stopping 10,000 suicide planes seemed impossible. Nimitz studied the intelligence reports for weeks. He looked at maps, flight patterns, fuel supplies. Then he noticed something nobody else had seen, a weakness in Japan's desperate plan. Something so obvious once you saw it. But what was it? The kamikaze planes needed fuel. This sounds obvious, but Nimitz saw what it really meant. Japan's oil supplies were almost gone. American submarines had been sinking Japanese tankers for years. Every fuel depot was running on empty. Those 10,000 planes? They could probably fly once, maybe twice if they got lucky, but they couldn't practice, couldn't train properly, couldn't waste a single drop. Nimitz realized something crucial. If he could destroy Japan's remaining fuel supplies, those planes would never leave the ground. Operation Ketsugō would die before it even started. But there was a bigger problem.
Japan stored fuel all across their empire, hundreds of locations, hidden refineries, secret depots in caves. Hitting them all would take months, maybe years. The invasion of Japan was scheduled for November 1945. Time was running out fast. Nimitz needed a different approach, something that would end this war before Operation Ketsugō could happen, something unprecedented.
Nimitz made a controversial decision. He wouldn't just attack military targets anymore. He would destroy Japan's ability to make war completely. American B-29 bombers began hitting factories, refineries, transportation networks. Not just military bases. Everything Japan needed to keep fighting. The bombing campaign was massive. Hundreds of planes, thousands of tons of bombs. Cities burned. Infrastructure collapsed. But Nimitz knew this still wasn't enough. Japan's leaders were fanatics. They'd keep fighting even if every city burned, even if millions died. Then, in July 1945, something changed everything. American scientists completed a secret project, something so powerful it seemed like science fiction: the atomic bomb. President Truman had a terrible choice: use this weapon on Japanese cities, or invade and face Operation Ketsugō. Nimitz advised Truman on the decision. He knew what invasion meant. He'd seen the intelligence. The numbers were horrifying. But what happened next shocked the entire world. What happened that they never saw coming? August 6, 1945. Hiroshima. One bomb. One plane. One blinding flash. 70,000 people died instantly. The city simply vanished. Buildings evaporated. Shadows burned into concrete. Japan's leaders were stunned, but they didn't surrender. They thought America only had one bomb. They could still launch Operation Ketsugō, still force a negotiated peace. 3 days later, Nagasaki. Another city, another atomic bomb, another 70,000 dead. Now Japan knew the truth. America could destroy every Japanese city without ever invading, without ever facing the Kamikaze. Operation Ketsugō was worthless. All those pilots ready to die, all those suicide boats, all those civilians with bamboo spears, none of it mattered anymore. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito did something no Japanese emperor had ever done. He spoke directly to his people on the radio. Japan would surrender unconditionally. But there was one final twist nobody expected. Not everyone in Japan accepted surrender. Some military officers wanted to keep fighting anyway. They tried to steal the emperor's surrender recording, attempted a coup. For 12 hours, Japan's fate hung in balance. Would the military obey the emperor, or would they launch Operation Ketsugō regardless? Nimitz ordered his fleet to remain on high alert. If even some of those kamikaze planes launched, thousands would die. The war could restart in seconds. But the coup failed. Loyal guards protected the emperor. The surrender recording was broadcast. Japanese soldiers began laying down their weapons. Operation Ketsugō never happened. Those 10,000 kamikaze pilots never flew their final mission. The invasion of Japan was canceled. Nimitz's strategy had worked. By understanding Japan's weakness and advising on the atomic bomb, he'd ended the war without the bloodbath everyone expected. The numbers tell the story. American planners estimated invasion casualties in the millions. Instead, the war ended in August.
Chester Nimitz crushed Japan's final hope without firing a shot himself. Through intelligence, through strategy, through understanding his enemy better than they understood themselves. He saw what Japan's generals missed, that fuel, not courage, wins wars, that information beats desperation, that even the most fanatical plan needs resources. Operation Ketsugō remains one of history's great what-ifs. If it had launched, the Pacific War could have lasted another year, maybe longer. Millions more could have died. But one commander's clear thinking prevented it. Nimitz didn't just win battles. He won the war by making the final battle unnecessary. Japan's leaders bet everything on American fear of casualties. They were right that Americans valued life, but they were wrong that America would quit. Instead, America found a way to end the war that made Japan's final weapon obsolete. The divine wind never blew, and Chester Nimitz ensured it never would.
Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of Japan in World War II, never happened thanks to this American commander's strategy. Japan's final hope for defeating the U.S. military plan collapsed. MacArthur and Nimitz orchestrated Japan's surrender through unprecedented World War II strategy. The battle for Japan's final phase ended without the bloodshed everyone feared. One commander saw the weakness, changed history, saved millions. That's how wars are truly won.